So
Hey.
I'll start off. I'm Brenda Beckedorf. I'm Alberta IoT's Executive Director. Alberta IoT is a membership-based organization. We are focused on IoT businesses in the Alberta market, wanting to support them, create conversation, have educational sessions like this. So this is kind of where this is all coming from. Normally we have a lot of face-to-face meetings throughout the month, but obviously we're all on Zoom these days. So this is just one of the meetings we're doing. So I'm going to start off talking a little bit about sales, and then I'm going to introduce the three panelists and the roles that they play within the marketing community. So my role has always been in sales and business development. If you look at sales and what a sales team should be or could be, we have three different key roles. So we have inside sales. So inside sales focuses on cold leads and nurturing them. And those cold leads could come from LinkedIn, from a list, from networking, from your business development, bringing it to you. And you nurture the cold leads through the funnel until they're warmed up enough that you start to realize that you can interact with them and gather information. With cold leads, we like it to be automated as much as possible because you should have a couple thousand cold leads in your funnel. Once we start interacting with them, and this is still inside sales, and we're warming them up, when we get enough information, we know we're talking to the right person, then we can move it over to our hunter. A hunter wants to focus on someone who is making a decision, has an opportunity, has a budget, and they want to turn around and basically hunt and kill. They want to take it across the finish line. Once they've done that, then we have our farmer. Our farmer is our account executive. They turn around and not only keep the relationship going, but they find more opportunities. So those are the three different levels of a sales team. And obviously that is my background, but I'm now focusing on growing hundreds of IoT companies in the sales, that's guess where I'm at. So we'll now start talking to our three panelists and the different roles that they play. So Jen, you're in marketing, but your role, can you tell us about your company and the role that you play in marketing?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
No.
Awesome.
Anymore? All right. So I run a small marketing agency here in Calgary, and I've actually been doing all the marketing for Alberta IoT since about November 2018. A lot of you members have probably seen me at events, so I'm kind of around, but my company is focused on helping tech companies create and execute affordable marketing plans using automation whenever possible. So our main focus is attracting, capturing, nurturing, and converting prospects into paying customers, mostly in the digital space. And we use a variety of free or inexpensive online tools to make that as efficient as possible, some of which we'll be sharing today. So hopefully that gives you some insight into what I do, but if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
So I was going to say, if you're an inside salesperson, the automation that Jen just mentioned is really key to turn around managing large volumes of cold leads and even warm leads. So Bryce, you do a different role within marketing. What exactly do you do?
Yeah, fair enough. My name is Bryce. I am a marketing consultant, an independent marketing consultant. My business is basically designed around helping small businesses and startups figure out how to get their ideas out. So it's a lot of paid advertising, working a lot on making sure that your concept is really sound and we're able to get that message out to people. In what it ends up doing is creating those cold leads to be able to pass along to Brenda and Jen here, where they can warm them up and like turn them into sales. So this is really a lot more outreach and connecting to people who have never heard of you and make sure that they are the right people and get them interested in you.
Awesome. And Lisa, your role within the marketing world?
Yeah, so we're like trio of three different areas of marketing. So my name is Lisa Genovese. I'm with a company called Bottomline, and really we lead brands through huge change. And how we do that is leveraging market research. And so we start with all of our clients through an impact assessment, and that's really just getting lay of the land, what's going on in the industry that they're in. We do full trend analysis. We do your typical qual type market research, mystery shopping, pricing analysis, business modeling, all that fun work, and help those clients write a very comprehensive marketing plan before they're getting to the actual marketing side of things. So we do have a side of our company that can help with web development, visual brand identities, and a big focus on the digital marketing space. But we really believe that before you can ever get to that promotion piece, you really need to make sure that you've got your house in order. You have a strong plan, strong foundation, and good positioning before you go to do that.
Awesome. So the four of us now are going to talk about different parts of what you can do as a company going forward. So the first step we want to talk about is crisis communication. Obviously, everybody's being quite impacted by what's going on out there. So we'll start with you, Lisa. What can you give for advice around marketing and the type of work you do in this situation today?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing, of course, is just the crisis communications piece. I've seen a lot of different messages going out this past week and even prior to this week. And so the thing that I want to stress is, sending the same thing out that everybody else is sending is actually adding to the chaos and increasing people's level of stress. So yes, there are some things that legally, I'm sure your business needs to put out. And so I'm not suggesting people shouldn't be doing that, but what I am suggesting is shifting the message that's coming kind of after that. So we sent out some communication to our clients this week that went a little bit along these lines. It said, hey, we know that everybody's struggling and everybody is scared. If you're looking for ways to deal with the coronavirus, here's what the WHO suggests. So bang, there's our legal piece. And here's what we're, as a company, what we've done on working from home, social distancing, etc. But then we got right into here's how we can help you. So we know that this is a tough time, and if you're needing help, here are the things that you can reach out to us for. Bang, bang, bang. So made it really, really clear and easy. And it was surprising to me how many people actually reached out to us after that because we had been specific. The other thing that I'm seeing is just the correspondence going over social media. So people are putting out, the canned stuff of our office has been closed, we're working from home. Yes, those things are important. Your customers need to know that, they can't come into the office. But right. I'm also seeing that some people are not really responding in a sensitive manner. So I think it's important for the message to be empathetic, but also be very clear. Those are the two things that I'm seeing, which are not really happening, and people are not really handling their communications well through this time. So yes, tell them what they need to know legally, but then at the other side, tell them how you've got their back and what you can actually help them with through this time. And I won't go on too long here, but there's a lot I can talk about from the marketing perspective, but that's how I'd be handling the crisis communication side of things for sure.
Thank you. Bryce.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of reaching out, and I'm gonna talk a little bit more specifically about like connecting one-on-one with the clients that you have. The approach that I've been trying to take is really trying to be proactive with a lot of my clients and say like, okay, this is happening. Here's our next steps. Here's what we're going to be doing to kind of approach this. Now, whether that resonates or not is something that depends a lot on the client. However, I found that a lot of them have been very receptive to people coming forward and saying like, listen, we have a plan. We know this time is not great. It's going to be challenging, but we've got a plan to get you through it. And that's kind of where I've found a lot of resonance coming through, where people are looking for that to lean back on and say like, okay, these guys got my back. And I think that's something that is not exclusive to marketing. I think that's something that every business would be able to communicate to their clients, to say like, this is the plan that we've got and this is how we're carrying you forward. Yeah.
I agree. I was going to say, just from a sales point of view, I think right now being very visible on LinkedIn and recognizing everybody's emotional levels being very high, the messaging on LinkedIn right now can't be, I'm selling stuff. People don't want to hear about selling product right now. They want that emotional conversation. And I think that's more important. And I think even when you're reaching out to a prospect or a client, the messaging these days has to be, are you doing okay? Are you safe? How's your family doing? It can't be just, I want to sell you stuff, because people don't want to hear that. And I think the people who are going to be successful and leaders on the other end of this are going to be the people who are being there for the others and giving themselves. Because I think that's, and actually giving information out that's actually going to help people instead of just trying to sell.
Definitely.
Jen, on your end, what's your thoughts on crisis communication?
So I guess my best piece of advice would be to put yourself in your customer's shoes. So if you do that and you ask yourself, what do I need to hear right now? What do I need to be successful? And where am I getting that from? And then thinking about how you can, how your value proposition can evolve to accommodate the current situation without exploiting it. So these are things to kind of be mindful of in the do category, if you will. In the don't category, think about what they don't need to hear from you right now. What kinds of things are you seeing as a person, as a business owner, that are upsetting you or freaking you out a little bit? Don't be sharing any of that kind of stuff. I realize we're all human and we're all susceptible to the negative feelings that are floating around out there, but really, you know, on LinkedIn, it's not really the place to be spreading political stuff or negative stuff. We're all getting relentlessly spammed right now. And I don't know about you, but I don't really care what Cineplex is doing about COVID-19. So, you know, in terms of messaging and what you're putting out there, say what you legally need to say and really know more in terms of the impersonal marketing. For sure, reach out to people individually, one-on-one. If you have that ability, that would probably come across a lot better. My final thought was I've seen a couple of brands sharing some of the jokes and memes around COVID-19, and I would say I'm totally guilty of doing that personally, but that is on my lockdown kind of pages because my friends know what kind of sense of humor I have. Don't do that from your brand page. Do not be putting that stuff out there. Just keep your message short, succinct, serious, but warm and thoughtful, and again, keep thinking about how you can evolve your value proposition.
So our next part of communication is the fact that this will end and we will have to move forward and there needs to be a plan. And although we're in crisis mode, we still should be focusing on when we start over again, when we all get going again. And so that plan has to be in place and you're not caught by surprise. So whether that's May, June, August, who knows? But we do need to have a plan in place. So what are the first steps we should be doing and how can we prepare to relaunch ourselves back out there and be successful? So Jen, thoughts?
Yeah, so my biggest advice on this is going to start collecting data. If you're not collecting data, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities in the future. So at minimum, you should have a website that's running Google Analytics, collecting basic stats. Like how many visitors you're getting, where they're coming from, what they're looking at. And then from there, you can start to gate your more valuable content and start using their contact information to start kind of nudging them through the sales funnel so that as this kind of moves along and blows over, you still have warm leads in your pipeline at the end of it. So right now, I'm using some pretty sophisticated and mostly automated processes to hand my client sales teams lists of warm leads that they can follow up with. And I haven't really seen a big slowdown in that, thankfully. So we can still see, you know, people coming to the website. Definitely, we've seen some drop-offs in that, but people are still reaching out through contact forms and things like that. So again, make sure that you have everything you need in place to start collecting that data so you can use it to your advantage in the future.
Awesome. Bryce?
Yeah, I'd say very much along the same lines, but kind of look at the benchmark that you've been able to produce in terms of sales and marketing results over the last little while. And if you are seeing kind of a downturn right now, make sure to kind of keep checking on that. Make sure that you see that level and gauge when it's coming back up to that point and say like, okay, now we're back at a point where we are able to effectively start marketing again, effectively, like we're seeing these sales come in and we're seeing, you know, an improvement from this challenging time. It's kind of the approach that I would take is very much like benchmark and see how you're able to reach where you are right now again.
Okay. And Lisa?
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit more from the marketing lens, but also about just other things that can be done, because I am seeing some businesses, and I don't want to doom and gloom here, but some businesses that have closed that may not reopen. And so they're having to really pivot and shift right now. And so I'm encouraging clients to go back and take a look at what could new normal really look like at the end of this, and how can you really shift your service offering. Maybe it looks totally different. So an example that I think we actually, the four of us talked about the other day, I'm a member at WPO, and there's a woman that's part of the Nashville chapter that owns a distillery. And there was a byproduct when they make vodka that you could use in hand sanitizer. And I think there's a story out of Calgary that this just happened the other day, but they spent the first few days of this crisis turning their entire distillery over to a hand sanitizing making machine. And it was a byproduct that they were already getting rid of. So I would encourage everyone to look at, like, is there a byproduct in your business? So I get that everybody on this call is in technology. Typically that byproduct is information of some sort. Is there a way you can package that and add value to somebody else and sell that as a new service? How can you really pivot and shift? And then further to what's already been said from a marketing perspective, going back to the basics is going to be really important right now. So I'm seeing that, you know, a lot of the really whizzy bangy campaigns that we were running, we have said, okay, we need to be a little more pragmatic. Let's pull things back and regroup. This doesn't mean that we're stopping all that we're doing, but instead we're actually going into planning mode and creation mode internally with our clients, so that when we do get to the other side of this, we're one step ahead of the game and that we can really hit the ground running. So what I mean by going back to those basics, take the time to go and relook at what's important to your customer, and has that changed through this? Does your customer look different? Like, I mean, the profile, the avatar of that customer, has that changed? And I would argue that in a lot of cases, it is going to be fundamentally different. And I know as business owners, that's scary, but look at it as this is opportunity. You know, this is our opportunity to pivot and shift and change some things that weren't working, so that they can be better on the other side. So utilizing the time to plan forward, I guess, and go back to some of those basics so that what you are creating is well suited to the customer that's going to be on the other side.
So we have a question, and I'll put this out here and one of you can answer it. The question is we've been gaining momentum this year with our marketing and social media. I hear what you're saying about not pushing, but I hesitate to take the foot off the gas and lose that. Do you really need to pull that back?
That's a great question. I started.
Okay, why don't you jump that, and then I have another question right after that, so then we'll get someone else to answer.
So I tell this to every client. If something is working, don't stop doing it. So especially in this case, if it's working for you, great. In a lot of cases where businesses have had to, let's say that they're a naturopathic clinic in the city and they've had to shut their doors down from a safety, like procedural side, you know, they can't continue to market in the same way. That's just a reality. But if you have something that's working, good God, don't stop doing it. But I will say, be mindful of what could be coming out of left field that you're not thinking about, because this is working for you right now. So just, I don't want everybody to be scared, but I'm saying just be cautious and be, you know, really realistic about what could come. But don't stop. That's my advice.
I was also going to say, you don't want to become invisible throughout this. You need to stay visible right through, and it might be toning down your messaging, but you still don't want to become invisible, because things will gear back up again, and you don't want to have to start from ground zero. Right. So the other question is, when you have current clients and or prospects that have said yes to your service, but have not been able to bring it to the finish line due to obvious circumstances, being respectful of what's happening, what is the best way to communicate with these clients to keep them or help them stay engaged? Jen, do you want to take that?
Sure. So that's probably more of a sales question than a marketing question, but I would say just try to keep it human. Touch base. You know, we know that sales is a process and it takes several touch points to get people over the finish line. So, being mindful of that and the current situation at hand, I would say that you definitely need to keep in contact, but keep the conversation really human, and maybe a little less business. But if you have enough rapport with a client, you can typically kind of give them a playful nudge, like, hey, so what's going on? Are we doing this or what, kind of thing, so.
And I was going to say, from a sales point of view, I think the communication part is key right now. People are looking at their budget, they're looking at what they need to do to stay visible, but at the same time, they're going, wait a minute, I can't spend that vast amount that I was spending every month, or that small amount, like I just need to shift. But if you have that conversation with them and say, you know what, we're going to pare it back so that your budget is reflective of what you can handle today, but we're going to keep you still visible. And once we get through this, let's have a plan in place on how we're going to gear back up. So then the conversation's still going, right? So if you're selling a service or a product right now, your customers don't want to just say go away, but they're probably also pretty terrified about what their budget looks like. So again, it's better to pare it back some, but still keep things going. And again, I think unfortunately that's a lot of conversation right now. Anything else?
Add actually to what you said, Brenda. So
Yeah.
we have had, it's been interesting to see. Of course, there's a lot of fear, and we have had many clients that have wanted to pull back, which we totally understand. But we've actually had a lot of clients who have stepped more into a leadership position through this and said, hey, there is opportunity when times get tough. And they have actually come in to say, where can we actually expand versus contract? And those are the ones that I see on the other side of this that are going to be doing really well, is to not allow what's going on to paralyze them out of fear, and really go, okay, where's the opportunity, and how can we, in our case, it's been, how can we have more help from you guys to brainstorm of what we could pivot and shift into? So there is opportunity. I think it's just how we choose to handle this time.
Great. So the other question is, as our customers all slow down and we lay off staff, we have no choice but to cut down on sales and marketing staff. What can we do with automation to replace some of this work so that current and new customers are continuing to be touched? Anyone want to jump in on that?
That sounds like a question for me.
Go for it.
Yeah, I don't want to take from the next section, because we are going to go into a little more detail on some of the tools that we use that we like. So we will get there. But really, there is a ton of software and information out there. A lot of it is available for free or really inexpensively. And there's actually also tools like so HubSpot and Pipedrive and Salesforce that are starting to work automation into their CRMs. Some of them are free features, some of them are still in beta, but that is coming. So those kind of touch points can continue automatically in the background. You just kind of need to know where to look. Those big companies especially will have webinars and things like that, and they'll have dedicated salespeople that are that you can talk to get training on those features and whatnot. But there's quite a bit in terms of sales automation as well as marketing automation. So yeah, I think we'll wait to get into more detail about that, because we are going to go into that in the next section. So hopefully that answers your question to some degree.
So 2 points. One, what we're going to get into the technology piece in 2 seconds here, and we will be sending out a follow-up email with all of the different technology pieces that we think that might be of use to you. So you will receive an email from us with a lot of this information. The other thing I did notice, we're really watching through Alberta IoT all of the different things that are coming out from government, and we're trying to post it as we get it, so that way the links are all available. And one of the links that came out today was, if you have staff that you need to bring down to part-time that are in sales and marketing, government will actually help you let them stay on, say, 20 hours a week, and then they'll pick up EI for the rest of it. So government's already coming up with that proposal. So maybe you can just trim back your time instead of letting your people go completely. So we will have all of those links shared out to you.
I was just going to add, actually, what you're referring to, Brenda, is the Workshare program, and it's been in place actually for quite some time.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, the last recession, or the one that we're still in, whatever you want to call it, they put that in place. So it's available to you today to utilize, and so is temporary layoffs if you're not sure where you'll be in 60 days, that might be an option for your business as well.
Definitely. So we will share all of that information out. So that gets us to the next part, which is the technology tools and what are we using that are effective. So Bryce, do you want to start off with that?
Right. So just some of the, I mean, at this point, I'd say that communication is, again, key. We've talked about that so much. And I think that developing your ability to communicate with tools like Zoom, Google Hangouts is one that I use that doesn't always here or there, but figure out what you can use in terms of a really good face-to-face communication technology. And really utilize it to get in front of your clients and talk to them in a way that's really human and be able to empathize with them. Right now, especially, again, we've talked about this, people are looking for a way to empathize, and emails can be very cold, very clinical. This way is a lot more, brings a lot more emotion to the table, and you can actually connect with people rather than just being like, okay, we're in trouble, you know, good, bad. This is how you can actually talk to them. So I'd start off by really focusing on getting a good video communication tool, such as Zoom is definitely a very good one to start off with.
So one thing I will point out, because I'm in a lot of meetings now, I think all of us are, and I think this is my sixth one for today. I'm very, very clear when I'm setting up the meeting that I would prefer anyone that I'm working with on a team to actually be visible, not just phoning in. And I find that human interaction where we can actually start laughing and joking, one, because of the social isolation that we're going through, but I actually do believe people are more engaged. They're not as likely to be on the phone. They're not as likely to be looking around the room. They're actually engaged. And I think if you've got staff working from home right now, asking them to do those check-ins and actually be visible is important right now. So Lisa, what would you say are technology tools that you're using that, because you've got staff and clients everywhere. So how do you work with that?
Well, and I will say, if you're good with it, Brenda, we taught a webinar yesterday on running remote and how we've basically had a global team for almost 10 years. And that kind of talks about the communication tools and that bit from a marketing perspective. I mean, to Jen's point, I could go on for 2 hours about tech stack and what works and what doesn't. I think, you know, figuring out what, if it's replacing a marketing team, what is it that's valuable to automate? And one of the things I find is like emails. So utilizing, if it's MailChimp, fine, ActiveCampaign, or some of the just simple email tools out there will help for sure. When it comes to, I guess it's hard to know if everybody on this call is a service-based tech company, a SaaS company. There's so many things that I could throw out there from a tech standpoint, but I think the simple ones: make sure that you have a good email tool. If you're letting go of people that might be managing your website, you know, looking at, you know, how are you going to have some continuity through that process? Was it a full stack developer that you had on staff? Is it, you know, just simple WordPress work? Pretty much anybody could do simple WordPress work. So that shouldn't be too tough. But in terms of like communication tools, I know that Bryce talked about video communication. We use Slack a lot, and I believe there's an Alberta IoT Slack channel as well.
There is.
The other thing when it comes to Slack and communication, oh my goodness, use if you say GIFs or GIFs, I say GIF. Use the GIFs. I know we're all professionals, but good Lord, use them. It's how to bring some emotion back into the social isolation. Use emoticons. We will have, on Monday, actually, our team, everybody has been stressed out, let's be honest. And in the middle of the day, I literally went on the channel and said, everybody drop what you're doing. And in the next 5 minutes, your mission is to find the funniest GIF you've seen today, and put it into the channel. And we all just had a good laugh, and it was a bit of a brain break. So there's lots of tools out there. And I think the biggest thing is figuring out what works for your organization.
What about you, Jen?
So yeah, gonna try not to talk for 2 hours because, you know, we all know that I could on marketing tools, and I'll try not to be too specific, but a couple of the terms that you're gonna wanna look up if you're interested in finding marketing technology tools are MarTech and tech stacks. So write those down. So your MarTech refers to the software tools that are used in the planning, execution, and measurement of an organization's marketing efforts. And then your tech stack refers to the custom suite of tools that you're using. And so when you talk about those two different terms and how they relate to each other, your tech stack is going to be comprised of some MarTech tools, some communication tools for your team. It's going to be basically how all your tools, your accounting software, there's more and more integrations happening every day. And so a lot of these tools talk to each other. So it really frees up a lot of people's time, a lot of manual effort, transferring this data back and forth. So for example, following up with customers after they have paid an invoice, you could send them something and try and upsell them, right? So there's a lot of reasons that you would want to tie those kinds of tools together. So something to think about as you're kind of researching these different tools available for your business is, what do I have today and how can I tie things in really easily? So given that, I'll talk about some of the tools that I like to use. I'm a big fan. I work with a lot of startups and some scale-ups and a lot of big organizations that run on a fairly lean budget. And so I am always looking for the best deal I can get for free or really cheap everywhere I go. So, you know, when you talk about tools for productivity and teamwork, G Suite is a great one. I know a lot of the organizations in Alberta IoT are using the G Suite for all your email, calendar, word processing, all that kind of stuff. Also, a lot are on Teams right now, or just using the Microsoft Office 365 suite of tools. Those are great tools to use. In my business, I love Trello. Trello is my absolute favorite productivity management team. You can set up multiple teams that different people have access to. So in my business, I have teams for customers. I have an internal team. I have different people with access to different things, and it just helps me kind of keep everything on the same page in one spot. So I'm not getting emails and text messages and phone calls and all that. It all ties into that. So typically what I'll do is start my clients off on MailChimp because they have a really good free platform to a point. So you'll get to a point where you want to use more of your data that you're collecting for your customers to better market to them based on their needs and the kinds of products and services that they're looking at. If you're a larger company that has multiple products and services, the worst thing you're going to do is email everybody about everything all the time. You're just going to get people tuning out. If they're interested in one particular product that you sell, email them about that product only. And you can do that with tools. So you can do that sort of with the free version of MailChimp. But typically once we get to that point with clients, I'll move them over to a tool called ActiveCampaign. And if you've chatted with me at any of the Alberta IoT meetings recently, I'm a big fan of ActiveCampaign right now. It's a great tool. It's got like a drag and drop, basically a flow chart for building out automations. It's got a built-in CRM, and its pricing is based on how many contacts you have that are active in your list. So it's a really good setup for a small business. So to give you an example of the price, you're looking at about $70 US for up to 1,000 contacts, per month, which is pretty good considering how robust the plan is. So, and the capabilities of the tools. Of course, that's not a beginner tool, but it's also not for most of the very highly technical people in our organization here. I don't think it would be a problem for you guys to get it set up. Slack, awesome. Basecamp is even better if you want to invest a little bit of money. It's a really great tool. We are going to send out this list as well. So if you're sitting there,
scrambling
notes, yeah, don't worry, we are going to send these out to you. And then for scheduling things, so as we're using Zoom more and more, we're booking these face-to-face interactions, get yourself a Calendly account. You can so the limited free plan only gives you one calendar, one event type. So you have unlimited bookings, and basically you can send someone a link And you just set up your times that you're available. They select their time slot, and they can book time with you really easily. So it eliminates a lot of the back and forth that you'll see in email. You know, oh, are you available Thursday? Nope. How about Friday? Oh, you know, there's a lot of back and forth there. So really, sorry, I apologize. I'm talking a mile a minute because I really geek out over this stuff. But I love tools. I love increasing productivity and efficiency. So
that's awesome.
I'll stop there. I'm sorry.
I want to add. As I heard you talk, I was like, oh, and this one. Oh, and this one.
This one. I was going to say, I'm going to say Trello. I haven't used Trello in years, and being back in using Trello, I love it. Just, I got to say that. It's like having sticky notes everywhere and keeping me on track. So Lisa, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to say another one to build on your point about Calendly. HubSpot, their free CRM has a booking link built in. I love because it integrates into the CRM. The other thing, when you were talking about integrations and looking at what do you currently have and what are you trying to integrate that with, Zapier. And that one is actually not on our list that we were going to send out. So Zapier, I think. And that is essentially makes one software talk to another software that maybe doesn't have a native integration. So two things that came to my mind, but you gave a really good description, Jen. Thank you.
Yeah. So question for you ladies and for you, Bryce. Are these tools things that our listeners can actually use without having a huge marketing background?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll take this one. Most of them, until you're getting into like the HubSpot, I believe Active Campaign maybe might be a little bit more robust as well. But for a lot of these are kind of like smaller tools to really automate small like processes that should be done fairly efficiently anyways. Stuff like time tracking or being able to connect specifically with your team, see kind of like what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, and being able to check in on, you know, any number of marketing campaigns through different programs. They are very intuitive. That's kind of what a lot of the tools are designed to be, very intuitive and really help you along the way. When it gets to the point of like where Jen has taken over and she's building flow charts all over the place, yeah, you probably should look at hiring a Jen at that point. But for the most part, most of these tools on the list that we'll be sending out are very intuitive, and I would say that you can probably pick them up fairly easily.
Okay. So at this point, do any of our participants have any questions that you would just like to ask at this point before we kind of wrap this up? Okay. So I was going to say, I know from Alberta IoT's point of view, our biggest thing is looking forward and where are we going to go? Yep, and I see that we have a question. Thoughts about Salesforce marketing product? Any thoughts on Salesforce?
I'm happy to answer if you want. I personally, so when we're having the discussion about are these tools easy to use, I find Salesforce, just my own personal opinion, it's challenging. It's a great tool, but it's a beast. I would compare it to, like, if you look at like Dynamics, it's the same thing. They're very, very powerful tools, but you almost need a full-time expert on staff, I find, to manage it. We looked at Salesforce for ourselves, and we looked at Dynamics, and we decided that you know, it was overkill for what we needed. So we've been using HubSpot CRM. I'm not a fan of their marketing software, but that's another conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I do find that their CRM is great. It's free, and it does more than a lot of softwares that are paid. So I don't dislike Salesforce. I just think it depends if that's what your business really needs. It might be overkill, and it certainly isn't cheap. I don't know how large your organization is, but you know, the cost per user is going to get up there, and it may end up being overkill for what your business may need.
I was going to say HubSpot's obviously good. Pipedrive is really good. ConnectWise, if you're in the technology space and you want a full stack right across from quoting, service desk to, your marketing and everything. ConnectWise is really great in the tech space. So those are really good tools. Salesforce, I agree, is really great if you are a larger organization and you have the team that can turn around and manage it. So
for sure. Anybody else have questions?
Yeah, any other questions out there?
You are most welcome. I saw the things come in.
So like I said, with Alberta IoT, our focus, obviously, we need to support our businesses through this. We want to give information out, but we're also looking at where we're going to go in the coming months. We have our golf tournament coming up, and we're doing an agricultural major event coming up. We're going to continue to have these Zoom meetings throughout the next few months while we're going through this. And again, our website will have as much information as we can plan and handle on there, just to support you guys through this. Bryce, what else would you like to wrap up with?
Well, I think the last thing to kind of wrap up with is that everybody, needs to take some time for themselves here. We're all in a very high anxiety, it's a challenging situation. So, if you got a pet your pet. Get good sleep, maybe go outside for a walk, take care of yourselves. Don't like over stress yourselves in this time. We'll all get through this, and we're going to figure it out, and it will come out on the other side kicking butt.
I love it. And
oh, sorry, Lisa.
Sorry, I'm so bad.
Right.
All I wanted to say was just that I know I'm kind of speaking for everybody on the call, but if you're having a challenge, or if you're stuck, like my physical door isn't open right now, but my door is open to you. I'm sure that Bryce, Jen, and Brenda would say the same thing. If you're struggling and you just need some help, you're not sure how to figure it out, I'm sure Brenda will be sending out contact details. Send me an email. I'm happy to hop on a Zoom call and just walk you through. I know that this is uncertain times, and if I can use what I know to help somebody else right now, I would love to do it. And to what Bryce is saying, take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. This isn't an easy time for anybody, business owner, employee, it doesn't matter. We're all having challenges. And we have to be kind to one another and kind to ourselves.
Definitely. And Jen?
Yeah, I would echo that. We are all here to support each other. We are a community. Don't hesitate to reach out. I want to help. If you have questions about specific software, I will do what I can to point you in the right direction. And I also wanted to end it on a not totally negative note here, kind of going back to that first question that we had. There are going to be a lot of tech companies that actually come out of this better off. So keep that in mind. There's companies like Zoom. Zoom their stock is probably through the roof right now. You got the Dishes and Amazon and Nextdoor. There's a whole bunch, and I realize those are bigger brands, but follow what they're doing. Have a look at the communications. Have a look at how they're talking to their customers, what their messaging looks like right now. That Zoom isn't going, oh, here's some information on COVID-19. Zoom is saying, here, we've booked a number of webinars to show you how to use the tool more effectively. So think about how you can do those kinds of things with the products and services that you're offering, and have faith that, us tech companies, we're going to all stick together. We're going to get through this rough patch, and some of us are going to come out stronger for it, and some of us are going to struggle through it, but we're all in this together. So reach out, stay in touch.
And I think that's a very good point, Jen. What you're saying is, let's be a leader here. Let's turn around and help each other out. And I think we'll all get through this a little bit better if we turn around and just put up our hand and say, here's what I know, and I'll share it, and I'll try to help you. And if everybody's doing that, we're all going to come through it okay. So to finish this off, we will be sending out material. Jen, when can they expect this in their inbox?
Probably within the hour.
Okay, and then all of our information will be on there. So if you have any questions for any one of us, you can reach out to us. And thank you very much for being on the call.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Everybody.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.